Hey everyone, welcome back to Poplar Preparedness. We're going to cover the number one threat to people's safety and security in a grid down situation. Is that food? No. Is it even exposure? No. It's actually sanitation. It's the lack of sanitation which will lead to disease. That is what usually kills people. Long before you starve to death, your weakened immune system is going to be compromised and you are going to die because you are exposed to a disease. Now, you can't stop all the contagious diseases, but most of the really nasty diseases out there are from improper disposal of waste. So we're going to walk through a very simple system that I saw implemented and I've experienced firsthand living in Tajikistan and Afghanistan. This is what the nonprofit organizations are teaching them there, and I imagine it's similar to what they're teaching in other third world areas. This is extremely simple, extremely easy to construct, and on top of that, this is going to keep you going for years. This system will be usable for years. Your buckets with liners, one, it's going to stink terribly. If you think doing a number 2 in the bathroom that you flush relatively quickly smells bad, poo in a bucket and then just like keep that in the house. That's going to be pretty rough. Okay, I know that's the direction a lot of people have gone, is getting buckets with liners. This is a much more manageable situation that is what people do in the third world. Okay. All right. So the first thing that we need to talk about is this is a pit outhouse. Okay. We have lots of fancier composting toilets and stuff like that. And if you want to get into all that, you absolutely can. This pit toilet is designed for you to do number 1 and number 2 in here. Okay. Now, where this was implemented, I will say this, that it was extremely dry climate, and doing number 1s in here when you have a wetter climate might not be the best. It might not be ideal. So you may want to have a separate place for guys to do their business as long as it's all liquid, right? So, first thing is you're going to want to dig a pit. Deeper you go, the longer the pit will last. But if you have a lot of water, runoff, that kind of thing, make sure that you're not going to collapse. Make sure it's a very stable. You can wall this up with rocks. You can reinforce it if you want to. Probably don't want to waste wood doing that. If you need to, you can actually dig it more like a V, and make it so that it won't collapse. Then what you're going to do is basically you're going to be putting a platform, which you can actually build the whole structure here. So it's like almost like a chicken tractor, so you can drag the whole outhouse back and forth. So you can dig a pit, and you can actually dig it relatively shallow. And then once you've filled up that pit, you can then move it and cover up that pit and move on to the next section. For some of you out there who are super desperate for fertilizer and you want to get into that, this will work for that. You can drag it off and dig into it and use it after it's composted for a bit. I would recommend against that. There's a lot of diseases that can be carried and spread that way. Most human societies have learned the hard way not to use human waste for fertilizer when we're talking about number 2s. Okay, but liquid waste has its places, but for number 2s, most societies bury it, and for good reason. All right, so once you dig the hole, you're going to build basically this basic platform. So you're going to have 2 main runners. You can use 2x6s, 2x4s. 2x4s are going to be a little bit, this is going to bear most of the weight, so go heavy on those beams, and then you're just going to put boards across basically. Except for this, you're going to leave one rectangle that's not reinforced. On either side of the hole, you can actually put an extra layer, so double up the wood there, because that's where you're going to be standing, and because it's going to be weakened by the hole. Now, Does this have a chair? No, it does not. Does not have a chair. I'm going super simple here. This is just boards across with a slot hole in there. This is what they use in a lot of places. If you've ever used a squat toilet, this is what this is. Now you can build a chair if you want to. There are issues with that. It makes it more complex to build, but then also sanitation on that too. A lot of people in the Western world will actually go ahead and build like the chair, where you can basically you do the same thing if you want to build that up. So you have a place to sit, you can do that. This will work in a pinch, and honestly, you'll get the hang of it real fast. The biggest thing to remember with that, if you're using squatty, is always empty your pockets. Because when you squat down, your pockets go upside down and things tend to fall out. Knew a guy who dropped someone else's passport down one of these things, and that's not something you want to do. Whether it's your cell phone or your keys or your whatever, because you don't want to go climb down in there, okay? So empty your pockets out if you use the squatty method. If you use a more sit-down method, that's fine too. Okay, so you got that. The platform is now on top of the hole that you've dug. Once again, make sure you dig the hole at an appropriate depth for your geology. Make sure that this is not upstream of any underground water that's moving, okay? If you're going to collect water down here and water's coming down, that's a really bad idea. You want to put this pit, one, where you're going to be able to have more pits. You may need to dig multiple pits over time. You want to be able to rotate that around, and then you want to make sure that it's somewhere that's not going to infect your water or someone else's water. Then you can build a structure on top of it for privacy with a little door. Super simple. And then you can drag this over the next hole that you dig. The nice thing about this is you can start off with as basic of a thing. You can dig a foot down across for your, if the grid goes down and you need a place, you can dig a foot down and build this platform like that. You won't have any privacy immediately, but you'll have a place to go to the bathroom right away. That's important. And then what you can do then is you can then make it nicer and nicer as you want to go. But if you keep it mobile, then you can just keep digging new pits. All right, so let's get on to hand washing, because this is super important. You're used to maybe having a faucet, and you turn the faucet on and you wash your hands, right? Super simple. But when you don't have water, you don't have power, this becomes less simple. Also, you may have a Berkey, but you're not going to want to use a Berkey to wash your hands, right? So how are you going to do this? Here's a super simple method that they implemented over there as well. So what you do is, ideally, like a big coffee can. A coffee can works perfectly. A coffee can, or like a big number 10 can or something like that. What you do is you cut just a tiny hole in the bottom, okay? And then what you do is you insert something like this, where you have like a rubber gasket, or you can just take a piece of rubber and cut it out, or anything that's going to stop the water. And then you like a bolt or something like that, so it holds onto the top there. You want this connected to the rubber gasket somewhere. And then you want to put a little handle on the bottom of it, like in maybe another nut or a bolt or a washer down there. And then what you do is you come up to this thing, the water is in the can, but this rubber gasket's down at the bottom, but it's actually on that bolt, right? So you come along and you just push the bolt up, and it pushes the whole thing up. The rubber gasket goes up, and the water can go around it and down the hole. So you push it up, and water comes out on your hands. You wash it, and then you let it go, and it drops back down. You can put a little soap dish. Just put a little piece of metal or something in there that you can put a bar of soap next to it. So you come up here, you pop it up, get your hands wet, pick up the bar of soap, wash, get the soap on your hands, put it back on the soap dish, and then hit the thing and water your hands again. And then you just come up here and you just pour more water into the top whenever you need some extra water in there. And It's a very, very super low-tech situation. You can use these for wherever you need water. So if you want to do a kitchen and you need to have some running water, you can do the same thing. It works really well. That little plunger just seals the bottom of the can and no water comes out. Or maybe it dribbles real slowly or whatever. So, and you just put that on a tree, you put that on a post, just attach it to something so it's up there, and then you can wash your hands and be nice and sanitary, have clean hands so that you don't infect yourself from yourself or anything else. You know, that door handle can get a little heat. What do you do if you don't have toilet paper? What they did there was they actually, in a lot of places, they have 2 buckets, okay? In one bucket is a bunch of smooth stones from a stream or a river, and you pick up a clean stone and you wipe with it, and then you put it in the dirty bucket. And then eventually they take the dirty bucket down to the stream or river and wash the buckets. You can do the same system with rags, right? You can have a clean rag bucket. Now we're using term clean as in it can be relative, okay? You can sterilize them too, though. So what you pick up the clean rag, wipe with it, put it in the dirty rag thing, okay? And then what you do is you take the dirty rag down, you wash it, okay? Is that the most pleasant job? No, it's not. But if you have enough water, this is doable. And then what you can do is after you've cleaned them, you can then boil that bucket to sanitize them. And then you can dry them and then put them back in the clean bucket, right? So you can do that with different kinds of things, or you can make disposable ones. But whatever you do, have a way that you can clean your behind, and that's all very doable. Once again, this is what they use in some of the third world contexts that I saw, and it worked well. Definitely have a designated place to go. And it's also good to, in other places, our system was always, as you approach the outhouse, you'd clear your throat, and if someone's in there, they can kind of go, yeah, someone's in there, or and they cough back or whatever, and that way you'd kind of know not to barge in on them. But this system worked well. You can use these for washing too. So if you want to have 2 of these, you can you can fill it up with lukewarm water or warm water, and put like a shower curtain around us, so you have some privacy outside. And then you can use a bigger version of this, whatever, to get the water out of it, and then you can use a washcloth or something like that to wipe down. You wet yourself down, right? And then you can lather up, and then you rinse yourself off. Okay. The key to that is having a decent towel, because that towel is going to absorb a lot of the stuff that you weren't able to rinse off. So you're going to want to wash those towels a lot more than what you would normally do, like when you have a full shower, a hot shower. What we did a lot was we had like a hot water container. It was it looked like almost like a Berkey. And then what we do is we'd have ladles. We'd have like a scoop. Looks like a measuring cup, but like bigger. And you'd fill it up with water, make sure it's the right temperature, and then you'd use a washcloth, dip it into that, and wipe and wash and everything like that. What we did when it was super cold was we had like a room. It was like an outdoor room that had like a drainage area in the bottom, and we would heat that room when everyone was going to bathe. We'd make hot water and we'd heat that room up outdoors, so it was like tolerable, maybe even a little warm, so that you'd go in there, and this is like in sub-zero temperatures up in the mountains in Asia. It was cold, but we'd have like bath day, and it was kind of an event, and we'd have all the hot water, and then everyone would just take their turn and go in there. We'd have candles in there to kind of warm things up, and we'd have a lot of hot water in there so it would warm up, and then it was relatively comfortable to do that, and you're just using ladles of water. You can go overboard and you can have a shower, you can do all that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about the bare minimum. If you need to cobble something together like that, that is a workable solution that I experienced. And hopefully this has been helpful to you guys to talk through what I saw, especially in cold climates, what was done. And all right. God bless you guys all, and I will see you again here tomorrow at 6 a.m. Maybe something a little more interesting than sanitation.